Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an exciting episode of The Devil's Due. I am your host, Carl Duty. Court is now in session. And dear listeners, we have one hell of a show for you today. We have a very special guest with us today. He is Ron Garney. He is the artist of Daredevil, the Daredevil comic books. He generously gave us some time, and wow, we're really excited to have him on the show. That being said, with me, as always, is the man who is so excited at the announcement of Lady Gaga performing with Metallica at whatever award show that this is going to happen. He's beaming right now. Mr. Drew Celestino.
Yeah. I'm not I'm not angry about that, to be honest with you.
You know what? I didn't think you were going to be super angry about it.
She's of the pop people.
Yeah.
I respect her more.
Yeah, she's kind of developed into, she's past the whole like meat suit wearing phase.
Yeah. No, she's got her own thing going, and I dig her outrageousness, and she seems to be a little less vapid than the rest of them. So
put on a hell of a show at the Super Bowl halftime show.
It was a show.
It's a show. It's what it's supposed to be. They have 30 minutes from.
You're not going to catch me dangling from the roof of a building. So good on her, man.
Jumping off, looking like Dazzler.
That was pre-recorded, but yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So yeah.
Right. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Sup, man? You sound terrible.
Oh. Do I sound terrible, Drew?
You do.
Do I sound terrible? Do I sound like I maybe might have caught a cold from someone?
It's unclear who that could have been, but...
yeah.
Sorry, man.
Bastard.
Mine only lasted a couple days. You're pushing further.
Yeah. Little bit. It evolved.
Well, science.
Yeah. Ain't it a bitch.
I'm sorry, man.
All right, folks. We're really excited about this episode.
Yeah.
We got good stuff happening. But before we get to that, we got some ceremony to stand on. Sir, how was your week?
It's okay. I don't have a whole ton to say about it. I watched the Super Bowl like any other red-blooded American. It was uneventful from a Buffalo perspective. Tom Brady and the Patriots can please just go away forever and ever now. And the city of Boston can fall into the ocean, please. I'm done. Enough. Please leave the rest of the country alone. We've had enough of you.
I have different opinions, but they're not popular ones, so I will keep them to myself.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, that was about it. The game, honestly, I couldn't have cared less about the game. The Patriots, I loathe and despise.
That was like one
the
of
Falcons
the most amazing games ever played.
I have no investment in it, really. The Falcons are a non-entity to me. They're a team that exists, and that's about all I think about them ever. And the Patriots are the scum of the earth. So to me, it was an uninteresting matchup. And I'll tell you this, though. My beer game on Sunday was strong.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Budweiser?
No, get out of here. I broke out some of my Indiana stash, some Three Floyd's goodness. I had some Stone stuff on hand too. I had a strong lineup, sir.
All right,
and it was enjoyed.
All right, say what you will about Budweiser, they do good Super Bowl commercials. Their beer is terrible, but they do good.
They have the money. I hope they do well.
Yeah, but like when you think back, like the horses bowing their heads after 9/11. Now, like with the current political climate, they're making their statement on it.
It's all good.
Did some decent commercials.
Good on them. Make it stop buying craft breweries. Stop. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
They bought the Red Car Brewery so they could dismantle it.
Yeah.
They are the Judge Doom of...
Sort of. They're going to replace all the craft brewery beer with dip. Oh. Anyway, that's really about it, man. How was your week?
Oh, my week. You want to know about my week?
It doesn't sound like it was very good.
I think you can hear from my voice how my week was as I'm coming to the end of it. The cold that you had for like what?
3 days.
3 days, barely.
This is a
one
week
of the days happened to be after we recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew like that Wednesday. I knew I kind of got it, but you know what? I love the show. I'll sacrifice for it. Wednesday wasn't so bad. Wednesday night, it kicked into high gear, and I stayed home from work. Thursday. Friday, I was feeling a little bit better, and there was a happy hour after work. So I was like, I'll go into work and then go to the happy hour. It seemed like it was going to be the same cold you had because I felt fairly decent throughout the day Friday, and it kind of tapered off and went to the happy hour and consumed alcohol.
That was there's your mistake.
Saturday.
When you're fighting something, you don't want to give it ammunition.
Yeah, Saturday. Well, my logic was that a lot of this is in my throat, and alcohol is like...
oh my God.
There's alcohol.
Go on, doctor. Tell me more.
I didn't say my logic was backed up by science. It just maybe half-cocked theories.
What have we learned?
Yeah. Alcohol doesn't mix well.
No.
With a cold.
Helps you sleep, but that's about it.
Yeah. So Saturday kind of kicked back up again. Sunday wasn't great. Julie was out of town for work, so it was just me and the boy watching the Super Bowls. He wasn't having it the first two quarters. It just
the good quarters.
Again, we have different opinions. Yours is driven by irrational hatred. Mine is driven.
Oh, it's rational. It's very rational.
I'm a Bills fan too. I want to say, but
I wouldn't say I'm a Bills fan. I'm just tired of being my township being the laughingstock of a division in the league because the other team just happens to be in said division.
So William, my son, was approaching 11 months old. Decided that he was going to just cry throughout the first two quarters. I finally got him to go sleep, and he decided to wake up right at the beginning of overtime. I was like, son, this has never happened before in history. Can I get some time? But it all went well.
All right.
He did manage to pseudo stand up by himself for the first time.
Well,
which was awesome. Like, he basically just needed me to prevent him from falling forward or backwards, but he was just kind of figured out that he could lock his legs and stand on them, and that was awesome.
Times they are changing.
Yeah, they really are.
He's going to be skedaddling around soon.
Oh, jeez. My house is a death trap, so we're going to have to fix that. But yeah, that was pretty much my week. Just the cold that you gave me, and I'm never just going to call it being sick. I'm simply going to refer to it as the cold you gave me.
Well, I'm happy to. My God.
You like?
Well,
that?
I don't want it back. So stay on your side of the room over there. My God.
I'm going to give you a nice kiss after this.
No.
So yeah, that was my week.
Cool.
Listeners, dear listeners, possible new listeners, because you've seen who's on the show, and you're like, hey, I dig that guy's art. I want to hear what he has to say. If you like our show, if you want to send us some questions, if you want to send us some comments, you can find us at the following multimedia outlets. You can follow us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can go to facebook.com/Devils Do Pod. You can go to you can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all of these great resources at our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. That being said, time to get to our cross-examination section of the show, and we got some listener questions. Now, we did get some from Jay, Jay, we love you and we appreciate you. This show is going to be one of our longer ones, so Jay, we're going to hold off your questions to the next episode because
he is furious right now.
He can be furious, and again, we love him. But what's he going to do? Not send us questions? We both know that's not going to happen.
Don't poke the bear, man.
So we're going to go to, because we got some new. I think we've gotten questions from one of these gentlemen before, but I don't think from both.
But it's been a while?
Yes, it's been a while.
All right, bring it on.
So, okay, we got some questions from a gentleman by the name of Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Tom, we appreciate your questions. He says, hey, guys, love listening to you, and finally, I have some questions again. So,
okay,
Tom is...
Repeat appearance.
Drew,
Yes.
I saw you got some classic Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games.
Ooh, that happened this week too. I didn't bring it up. Oh, okay, go on.
Which one would you say is the best one? I was thinking about purchasing one for my phone. Yes, they now have Final Fantasy for phones.
Okay.
What games would you like to see come back on the Switch or other systems' virtual consoles?
Gladiator. This is a good question. I have thoughts.
Figured you would.
Okay. So, yeah, this week I ended up getting an original Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III SNES cart from Instagram. By the way, Instagram, if you're looking for retro video games, the place to
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Interesting.
If you know what accounts to follow.
Instagram, so
If you know what accounts to follow, people post stuff. They say, hit me up if you want it. Here's the price. You tell them, PayPal, good to go.
So you say original? Do you mean like Japanese original?
No. That would be a Super Famicom.
Okay.
These the SNES cartridges. So
And
Final
also you
Fantasy
can't speak
II,
Japanese, so it'd be hard to understand the game.
little bit. Final Fantasy II, or it was later revealed to be Final Fantasy IV, and Final Fantasy III, as it was later revealed to be Final Fantasy VI. So these are two of the finest games in the SNES's library, and probably two of the finest games ever made, period. But if I would have had to pick one, Final Fantasy III, a.k.a. 6, is, in my opinion, the absolute gem of the series. And I'm including 7 in that. 7 is a fantastic game. It's probably my second favorite Final Fantasy after 6. 7 benefits from a pop cultural... It was in the right place at the right time on the right system with the right presentation to get noticed, and as a result, it's known. It's Final Fantasy VII, but dollar for dollar, beat for beat, character for character, storyline, gameplay, Final Fantasy 3/6 is my jam. It is my absolute jam, my favorite Final Fantasy. So if you have access to it, get it. I will warn you. I would love to steer you away from the iOS version. They redid all the graphics, and they look god awful. They're redrawn, like they're nice.
They did that on some of them, not all of them. Some of them are just like straight ports of the.
No, I know they
SNES.
did on 6 though. That's the thing. So if you have any way to get there's a Game Boy Advance version of Final Fantasy VI, I strongly recommend that one. It's a good conversion of the SNES cart. Or if you can, just get the SNES cart. It's going to run you about $40, but I mean, it's the jam. It is the game. It is the Final Fantasy game. Those new graphics just don't mesh well.
I get you.
And I'm a sucker for sprite art, and that game has some of the best sprite art of its generation by a lot. So. Yeah. There you go. That's my Final Fantasy take.
7's the number, man.
No.
7 little squirrels sitting on a branch.
Step into my office. Anyway.
Why?
Okay, it's a family show. Games I like to see on Virtual Console on the Switch, well, ultimately it just comes down to licensing. So
getting GameCube games, which is going to be nice.
That's going to be pretty cool.
Mario Sunshine again.
I have it on disc. I can play it anytime. I don't want to, though, because I don't like that one.
Do you?
I don't know, man. I think they've done a pretty good job with the Virtual Console. They could do more, but I think licensing is a problem. So I off the top of my head, I couldn't really pick one out. And I'd say some of the Square gems. So like ActRaiser, great game.
Yep.
Secret of Mana, another one of my favorite Square games. These are typically not games that come out on the Virtual Console. So if Nintendo and Square could make that happen, I would be mighty grateful, because those cartridges go for a little more than I want to pay right now. And I'm a sucker for OG stuff, so.
So now, Tom here has a question for the both of us.
Okay.
Have you guys seen the art for the new DuckTales? What Disney cartoons would you like to remake? I'm assuming he means what cartoons would we like Disney to remake, not remake ourselves, because I can't draw.
No, nor I.
Mine would be Darkwing Duck. I have not seen the art for the new DuckTales show, but I saw like the trailer in which they revealed who's doing the voices and whatnot. And you know what? I'm loving the Voltron reboot. So here's hoping the DuckTales reboot goes the same way. Tom, I would agree with you. I'd also like to see Darkwing Duck or maybe Tailspin.
Well,
I always liked Tailspin.
Yeah, Tailspin was cool. I think my vote, Darkwing Duck, would be strong, but I'm a Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers guy, man. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
It was good.
All those Disney afternoon shows
they really were
quality.
They did. They did a great job.
So, okay, Carl, What from your childhood do you want your son to like or dislike, just like you?
Ooh.
I think if I'm going to be safe, if there's something that he's passionate about, I would kind of hope it's Star Wars.
Careful what you wish for now.
Well, I mean, let's take a look at the current state of the product. The current state of Star Wars is good.
It is. It is good.
The other stuff I liked as a kid, Transformers and G.I. Joe, yeah, not so much.
No.
As much as it pains us.
Yeah.
Like, how awful does that new Transformers movie look?
Yeah.
It looks so incredibly awful.
Well, it's par for the course for that franchise, but unfortunately.
And Anthony Hopkins, dude, how much money do you need, man? Because, like, have some dignity.
That third boat's not paying for itself, Carl.
I know. Sometimes you take a job just for the cash, but still. Okay, and closing out for Tom here, he says, this is a comment for Jay. If you were looking for a
Jay's getting comments.
Jay's getting a fan following.
He's not even on the show.
If you were looking for Star Wars books to read that was from the old canon, I highly recommend the X-Wing novels by Michael Stackpole, and then the ones from Aaron Alston, and of course the Thrawn trilogy and Shadows of the Empire.
There you go, Jay.
There you go, Jay.
Getting mail on our show.
Advice
what are we, your secretaries?
Advice for your timely entrance into the Star Wars extended universe.
Now that it's not canon anymore, have fun.
Okay, so Tom, again, thank you for your questions. We appreciate it. Our next group of questions come from Mr. Daniel Harbin.
I know Daniel.
All right. I'll give you your question first then.
Very good.
Drew.
Yes.
Would you rather your comic books cease to exist, or from now on, everything must be drawn by Rob Liefeld and written by Zack Snyder?
Oh,
dude.
Oh,
dude.
Well, what's the old adage? Like, if you have a million monkeys typing, eventually one of them will write Shakespeare. So
I think it's 100.
Okay, well, I don't like those odds. Better make it a million. I mean,
so you're saying eventually Liefeld and Snyder would produce something good
with enough time and enough energy.
All right. I suppose that is a theory.
It's that or no comics at all.
See, from his question, he's saying, if comics cease to exist, does that mean everything that's come up to this date would cease to exist?
Good question.
Because if the answer was yes, then I'd be like, I'll take what
you can get.
Yeah. If the answer is no, then I'll be like, all right, we're good.
I got a lot to read.
I got a lot to read.
Yeah.
And then Daniel goes on to ask me, Carl, what are the main differences between playing Street Fighter against the game's AI or an actual person? Oh, geez. That's a good question. It's night and day. I have no problem polishing off the computer in Street Fighter. Playing against a person is... It'd be like, I often equate Street Fighter to a game of chess that takes place within 99 seconds, because that's essentially what it is. Each player, regardless of the character they're using, has different styles within the tools that character possesses. The way I play Ryu is going to be different from the way someone else would play Ryu. We're both throwing the same fireball, but where we choose to use that particular tool may differ based on our styles. Some players are more offensive, other players are more defensive. A computer, you can pretty much predict what they're going to do without any problems. Granted, there have been some agonizingly difficult boss fights in fighting games that I've played before. Gil in Street Fighter 3 comes to mind, the original version of Street Fighter 3. Magneto in X-Men Children of the Atom, the first X-Men fighting game. Still to this day, I've never beaten that. But yeah, it's night and day. So yeah, that's a great question.
All right,
we appreciate the questions.
Yes.
So this is your call, sir. Do you want to do Jay or?
Let's make him wait.
All right.
Let's put him on the bench for a little while.
Okay, Jay, we're going to bench you only for purposes of time. We love you, and yeah, don't hate us.
He can hate me later. but he'll forgive me.
All right.
Let us move on.
That closes the cross-examination on the show. Now we're going to move on to the case files. And as Drew and I have both mentioned this past week was the Super Bowl. And with the Super Bowl comes commercials. And with those commercials typically come trailers. Now, most of what was trailers that were shown during Super Bowl are things we've already discussed before, so we're not going to go over the old stuff. I think we both agree Guardians were in.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else, meh. I'm in for Pirates, but those are fun popcorn rides. I don't expect anything more from those, and that's what they give me. But we got a fantastic trailer for the second season of a show we've talked about a lot on this show.
Yeah.
Stranger Things 2.
Bring it, dude. I'm so ready.
It is so Ghostbusters and gigantic monster off in the distance.
Would you say it? You know what that reminded me of? Like, it reminded me of The Mist. Did you ever see The Mist?
No.
Oh, spoilers.
I'm not a huge horror movie watcher.
Okay, I would recommend The Mist. Yeah. That's like positively that last scene when he opens the door and whatever is out there in the distance, man, that's some like H.P. Lovecraft monstrous horror happening right there.
Yeah,
so I'm very curious as to what is going on.
I think saying that they're ratcheting it up is a severe understatement compared to what we saw. It looks like we saw the Demogorgon's mama.
Or something.
Yeah.
But that's very dude, I don't know what it is. That just as soon as it looked really cool, and they paced the trailer such that it looks awesome. You get all amped up, and then right at the end they hit you with the theme. And once I heard the music, I was just like, bam, goosebumps.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Clearly we see Eleven's coming back.
Yeah.
And from the brief flash they showed us, looks like to be in original form.
Okay.
Young girl. We don't know, but we're excited.
It's going to be great.
So, yeah.
And there was an Eggo stinger in the beginning of it, too.
Oh, that was so great. That was so great. Just the old 80s Eggo commercial.
That's the kid from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
What?
The Lego Magical kid.
Which kid?
He
in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
He's in the movie later when he gets the bike.
Oh, the kid who's the older brother on the Wonder Years.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a total jerk in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, I remember that.
He's the Lego Magical kid.
I will tell you when we're ready. Roll.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's cool. So, okay,
Stranger Things is going to be great.
Stranger Things. We're much excites. As you may have noticed, the show's called The Devil's Due, and we've been talking. We've discussed the first season of Netflix's Daredevil show. We are almost going to complete the first season of Luke Cage.
Yep.
The conclusion of that will come next week.
That's correct.
And
so Carl, what's coming up on Netflix then?
Oh, sir, we got a trailer today.
Today.
I was surprised they didn't do Super Bowl.
Yeah, you think
commercial?
Well, it's a TV show. I don't know.
Or at least because.
Well, then again, Stranger Things got one. So
yeah, but you notice kind of movie companies are getting smart about ads in the Super Bowl because they'll give you 30 seconds and say, "See the extended trailer at this website."
Yes.
So, but no, we got a full 2.5-minute trailer for Iron Fist.
We
today.
did.
And, sir, may I just say, everybody is kung fu fighting.
Were the kicks as fast as lightning?
They may have been.
Okay. Yeah, it looks cool.
It looks great. We get a proper pronunciation of what we know now as Kunlun.
Yeah, I'm sad about that. I thought it was Kunlun, forever.
I thought it was Kunlun.
Well, either way, we're wrong.
But, yep, we're wrong. It's Kunlun. Okay.
Everything you know is wrong. Oh.
I thought I knew some stuff.
I know. Well,
thought I knew my friend Drew would never, do me physical harm.
I didn't.
Wrong there.
The bacteria.
They're your germs, sir.
Look, I just gave them to you.
Oh, I see. You're being generous.
Exactly.
With your suffering.
Amen.
talk about Iron Fist.
Okay, sure. So not Chris Pratt as Danny Rand?
Yeah, I know him from Game of Thrones, and he was good on Game of Thrones. So
Okay. I don't know him at all. I trust that he's a good actor.
Yeah, when has Marvel gone wrong with the cast?
This is true.
When have they ever cast someone that you're like, oh, that was a miss?
Yep. Nope. They do very well with the casting. We got some action, kung fu action in the trailer. We got Claire. Claire's in it. I'm okay with this.
Claire's the glue that holds the Netflix Marvel together.
Yes. That's good.
We got some Madame Gao.
I was going to bring up the Madame Gao connection because as we theorize and we were watching Daredevil, like, where's she from? I wonder. Well, Iron Fist.
Got some
some answers.
David Wenham from previously of Lord of the Rings and a couple other things, playing the main villain. But yeah, I'm excited. Again, no sign of the traditional costume.
There was a brief wink when they show Danny in a gi of some kind.
Yeah.
And it's green and yellow. So maybe that'll influence his last episode costume choice.
I'm not expecting to see the costume until, if they do it at all, until the last episode.
I really hope they do one.
I want them to do one as well, and we've discussed previously that for this character, it doesn't need to be like the armor that Daredevil has. It just needs to be. This is one where you can kind of just take it right off the page of the comic book. Not the disco collar, the more current.
Yeah, turtleneck or the Steve Jobs version. I would also hope that the mask is going to be curious. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but I will trust that Marvel's figured something out to make it look good in live action. I just hope they do it, because otherwise you're going to have the Defenders running into action, and it's going to be Matt is the only one who showed up dressed for the party.
Yeah.
So
and it's going to look kind of No, I get what you're saying. So also,
bring it on.
Really quick, we're super excited for Iron Fist. We will definitely do an Iron Fist breakdown at some point, possibly depending on the release of Defenders, because after Luke Cage 2, we're going right into Daredevil Season 2. After that, it all depends on what the release of Defenders is.
Yep. And not to worry, though, we will give you probably some snap judgments of Iron Fist as we watch it. So
I'm guessing we're probably going to get together in my place for...
Yeah. We'll do a little viewing
it's coming
party.
Out on William's birthday. I sent Julie, my wife, a text day. I was like, hey, Marvel gave William a birthday present. Iron Fist. We're probably going to have some people over for that, by the way.
You should have an Iron Fist cake.
Yeah, just a fist. Glowing yellow.
All right.
So, also, real quick, because I know you're a fan of it too, Samurai Jack trailer dropped today.
I'm a fan of it.
I thought you liked Samurai Jack.
I know of it. I don't.
Oh, sir.
You were misinformed, man. I'm sorry.
I might be thinking of Alan then.
Yes, you are. He likes Samurai Jack.
You need to watch you some Samurai Jack. Speaking of which.
I did watch something on your recommendation this week.
You did?
I watched the first episode of the season 1 of Voltron.
Just the first episode?
Yes. I didn't get to anything else yet. I think you might have oversold it on me. I was expecting
it's
a
just
little...
the first episode. Dude.
Okay. Okay. No. It was good. Well done. Great animation. Well paced and whatnot.
You don't
cool
like
origin.
Comic relief.
I did not care for the comic. I wasn't expecting
one character in particular, because don't be bagging on my man Hunk.
No, Hunk's cool, but I could do Hunk's okay. Could have did without mustache guy when they get to the castle. He's rather annoying.
Yeah.
And there was they dude, come on, man. They slid a fart joke in there in the one part. I was like, what? Come on with this.
They're younger kids.
Yeah, I guess. Trust me. Could have done without that.
Give the rest of the season.
Okay. But it was okay. I did enjoy it, but I think I just built it up based on your recommendation pretty high, and then I was like, oh, it's not quite what I imagined it was. So that's on me.
Your disappointment that something someone else created didn't live up to your requirements of what it should be.
Yeah, it's almost as if I have tastes and
Stop. It's a good show. You'll like it.
I'm not saying it's not.
They haven't even formed Voltron yet.
They did form Voltron at the end of the episode.
Did they?
Yes.
Oh, it took them a couple episodes.
No, they formed it in the first episode. It was 2 hours long. I didn't know it was going to be that long.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the first...
I'm watching it. I got over the 30-minute mark. I'm like, damn, this thing's still going.
Yeah, the first episode's like a movie.
Yeah.
length. Okay, yeah. No, you'll like it.
Okay.
That's good.
I'll keep trucking. I will keep on
now
trucking.
It's bite-sized 22-minute, 25
Good.
minute
That I can
episodes.
handle. That I can handle.
Yeah.
Easily.
All right.
Cool.
So that about does it for the news.
That's it.
Normally at
That's
this
all I got.
point is where we...
I do have an addendum. Sorry.
You do have an addendum.
I have an addendum. Just found out today before we started recording. Rest in peace to Mr. Richard Hatch, who played Apollo on Battlestar Galactica, the OG
I was
Battlestar
thinking
Galactica.
of the dude from Survivor.
No.
I was like, this is a weird thing for you to be making an addendum on,
No. Yeah.
Okay.
He OG Apollo also played I can't remember the character's name, but he was also on the rebooted Battlestar Galactica. He had a different role where he was kind of a foil to the president, and big bucket of win, man.
Yeah, it's not... I was never... Battlestar Galactica was nothing I ever really consumed. I was... Back in the day, I was more Buck Rogers than
That's fair, but
Battlestar Galactica.
the reboot, man, is until it goes off the rails, it's a good show. That's another
Okay.
discussion. It's on my list of shows that I was really into until a certain point, and then the show just spirals into oblivion.
Yeah.
I have shows like that, a couple of them.
Yeah.
That's on there.
My science fiction is currently being sated by a rewatch of Deep Space Nine.
Ooh, okay,
I'm on the last season.
okay. Well,
Still my all-time favorite Star Trek series.
fair enough. Rest in peace, Richard Hatch. So
Indeed. So, okay, normally this is where we would rustle some papers and dig into our notes on a current episode of whether it be Daredevil or Luke Cage or whatever we're discussing. But as we mentioned before, we have a great guest for you on the show today. We have Ron Garney, who is the current artist on Daredevil, the Daredevil comic book. And we got a really great... He's very generous with his time, and we got a really great discussion with him. So without further ado, here is our interview with Mr. Ron Garney. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us, we're really excited about this, we have with us the artist who is currently doing Daredevil, the namesake of the show, The Devil's Due, Mr. Ron Garney. Sir, welcome to The Devil's Due.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you. We're very excited about this. We've had some guests on the show in the past, and we love the guests we've had on the past, but you're kind of like our first legitimate, you've got your finger in the world that we discuss on a weekly basis. So we're kind of excited here.
Wow, whenever I hear I'm the first of anything, it gets kind of exciting in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
well, no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, no. So how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Doing pretty good. Just came from my son's basketball practice.
Awesome.
So just a little tired today. Had a long day. Did a lot of stuff today.
Cool.
But I'm good.
All right. We're just going to kind of keep it loose and informal here. We got some things we're curious about. Drew's got some queries that he's jotted down. Please pardon my voice. I am currently recovering from a cold that Drew gave to me.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I
Appreciate
have a question. Why am I looking at Luigi on here?
it. Yeah.
I'm something of a Nintendo file, so me and Luigi are kindred spirits.
Okay. My son was a huge Mario guy for a while. He still is. He likes to play all the Wii U stuff with them.
As Carl will tell you, I am at full hype level for the Switch next month. So
What's the Switch?
it's the new Nintendo console.
Oh boy. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Peel you off of it.
We're just giving you a heads up for what your son's going to be asking for soon.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just in the beginning. What drew you to art? When did you realize you could draw? And how did you get into comics?
I was drawing hieroglyphics inside my mother's womb. Actually, I started drawing very young. I was around. I have pictures of Batman and Superman that I was doing when I was around 3. But they look like, balloons with capes with backwards S's on them, and little horns and things. So I've been drawing since I was young. And I was always, when I was growing up back in the area I grew up in, there really weren't any other artists. Now everybody wants to be a comic artist, it seems like. But, I was always the one artist in the class that, showed interest in it and had some talent. So since I was young, yeah.
And when did you actually first get published?
My first published work was with Marvel, G.I. Joe 110.
I was going to ask about that because I'm also something of a Joe fan.
Drew is a huge G.I. Joe fan.
Joe and Luigi.
Yeah, amongst other things, but very cool. So you have worked with...
So G.I. Joe was the first. I actually got a few offers on my answering machine when I first went into Marvel. It's kind of a long story, but by the time I got home, I had offered to do Moon Knight and G.I. Joe both in the same day. So I took the G.I. Joe first and then did Moon Knight as a regular stint right after.
I guess following up the G.I. Joe point, did you have any frame of reference for the characters and what they looked like, or did they send you toys?
Yeah, I had to be pretty accurate because they had some kind of licensing deal with what was it at the time, Hasbro or something. Yeah, and so I had to get everything right down to the nuts and bolts of each vehicle, and that was I'll tell you, from never having drawn a comic book before, like a full comic to get published, to go right into that was a real. They threw me right into the pit. So, and then I had to meet all the deadlines, and I pulled a few all-nighters, and it was wondering if I wanted to do that for a career at that point, when I was doing the all-nighters, because I went from being a bartender and a nightclub manager, and having all this nightlife, and the days free, never had to worry about deadlines and things, to that. So it was a complete shift in my lifestyle,
Yeah. What is I've always been curious of kind of the decision point how you come to it, when you decide you kind of turn from being, okay, this is something I enjoy doing, to this is something I want to make a career out of doing, and you dedicate yourself to that task.
Yeah. I mean, it's you have to find the spot where you're happy in it, because if you overwork yourself, you start to resent it. And I went through a period there where I really, I was cooped up so much just making deadline. I really worked hard to get a good career going. This is way back in the mid to late 90s. And, I've been doing this since 89. And around the mid to late 90s, I've been through some, a lot of political stuff, even with Marvel and Captain America and all these things. And so at one point I started getting really burnt out and disenchanted by it all, because I was working so much. I had no life, really. It was me and my dog living out in the country, and I started walking around the house with Kleenex boxes on my feet like Howard Hughes, I didn't cut my toenails for months.
Oh God.
But just kidding. So it was, it was tough being cooped up so much, and I knew at one point I had to make a decision whether I wanted to even keep doing it, because I was really getting sort of down on it. But things changed, and I came back around, and I found a space with it where it was more comfortable, and I ended up getting married and having a family, and that changed a lot of it, because before I was cooped up with no social life, living out in the country, and just really dedicated to being a good, trying to find the balance between being a good artist and yet being dependable. And it wasn't always the best of both worlds. So so after, once I got a family and, I got my priorities in order, things changed for the better.
Cool. I
can see you guys are just floored by all
this. It's super interesting.
Well, how?
Because I'm also a musician, so I'm also like an artist as well. I don't, unfortunately, I don't get paid to do it, but it is a passion of mine. And I have a similar sort of like, how much of myself do I put into that versus how much of myself do I put into working and being, like you said, dependable, and where's the line, you know?
Yeah. I'm a musician as well. And I had a band. Actually, it's funny because I did take some time off back in around, say 2000, 2001. And I had a band, and I really wanted to. We recorded a couple CDs, and that was really my first love. Was writing songs and things like that. So I had taken some time off, and my band was playing all over Connecticut, and that was what I kind of was hoping. I mean, it's such a long shot, especially at my age, even at that time. I mean, I was 38 at the time. But it's something I love doing, and love doing then, still love doing now.
What dare I ask? What kind of band? What style of music?
Well, we did a lot of covers, but we did a lot of the originals too. And we did things like Stone Temple Pilots, Beatles, Wallflowers, Green Day, all kinds of stuff.
And what do you play?
I play guitar.
All right.
I can play lead too, but I can play drums and bass as well. I play piano, but in the band I played the guitar and I did backup vocals. Cool. But I wrote all the original songs too for the and I worked with the engineer myself to produce the CDs.
Yeah, I'm my band. I play guitar and sing, and we also engineer everything ourselves. And we have 2 albums and an EP out, and
Sweet, man, I gotta hear it.
It's not that I'm above. I'm definitely not above whoring my wares. So if you have a spare moment, the band is called the Long.
We're called something very whorish.
Oh dear. It's we're called the Long Cold Dark, and we're a heavy metal band. So don't be afraid.
So that's cool. I feel like I've heard that before.
Wow. All right.
I'm curious. Because, again, we're just going to be jumping around a lot here. Your current style on Daredevil has a very noir feel to it. Was that a conscious choice for this particular character, or was that something that you felt you wanted to explore in your style regardless of what your next project was?
Well, both, really. I had been I experimented with that style many, many years ago. You can see spots where I was playing with it, like in Ghost Rider, but I wasn't committed to really full on. I was just, I'd see something that I liked that someone else had done, maybe Miller or something, and I would say, oh, that looks pretty cool. Let me play around with that for this panel, something like that, So, I mean, the interest in doing it was there as far back as that, but my creator-owned, I went full on with it. The creator-owned is called Men of Wrath. I did with Jason Aaron.
Yeah, I wanted to get into a little bit of that too.
Sure. So that's where it really began. And then after Men of Wrath, I called Marvel up. I was done with the creator-owned, and they offered me Daredevil, and so it was just sort of serendipitous, really. I mean, just sort of flowed from the Men of Wrath into that. A lot of people have said, oh, he's trying to do Miller and Scott McDaniel, and I really wasn't. I just happened to be playing with that style on Men of Wrath and really being committed to it and doing the inks, and I was having so much fun with it, and it just ended up working out with Daredevil, strangely enough. So
now, prior to doing Daredevil, did you have an affinity for the character? Was it kind of like something you wanted to do? I know you had previous experience on it, did you not?
It's funny. Yeah, I did a couple issues, but it's funny because about a year earlier, I did a local television, cable access show interview, and I said on that show, the guy asked me. It's actually a friend of mine. This guy Bill asked me what was I going to do, and I said, well, I'd like to sink my hooks into another single character instead of a team book. I said I'd really like to do Daredevil someday. And as a regular book. And, that was a year earlier, and I had no idea, that would be open for me when it was, but it was just happened to work out perfectly. So good for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, definitely something where we talked about discussing with you, something that we're interested in is the concept of icons is very prevalent in comics, especially mainstream comics today. And with your run on Daredevil, there have been some modifications to his costume. We're just kind of curious, was that whose decision was that? Was that mandated? And if, like, whoever's decision was, like, how do you approach, like, reinventing something that's so iconic as Daredevil's suit?
For me, anytime I start on a character, I'm always successful if I feel it right away. Daredevil is one of those characters I can get flashes of imagery in my head right off the bat. Captain America was one of those. All this. I do really well, I think, with single characters. I'm not a team book guy for that reason, because I tend to adjust my style depending on who I'm drawing. And with Daredevil, it was just phone calls with Axel, and I think the editor at the time was Sana Amanat. And, they're just explaining to me that they, starting over at number 1, they wanted to get back to the Hell's Kitchen, but more of but in Chinatown, but more because the Wade Samney thing.
Yeah, right.
It was so a little bit fluffy and, a little bit bright.
Much more lighthearted than Matt's used to.
Yeah.
And although it got a lot of praise, it was also something that, was very polarized in some ways on that book. So they wanted to get back to that feeling, and, I was all for it, and I could just see, once they started talking about redesigning the character and coming up with this character blind spot, so I just started sketching, and one thing led to another, and through a process of elimination and, adjusting things on the costume, that's what we ended up coming up with. So
basically, you had several designs and kind of refined it down to what it became.
Exactly.
Cool.
And I think Quesada, I would send the designs in. Quesada would make a couple suggestions or thoughts about it, and so I would try to apply those and just keep adjusting it. It's like a sculpture. You keep carving away the clay until you get what you want.
Sure.
So
is there any chance that we'll get to see the red suit again?
Yeah. Actually, I just finished drawing issue 17. He's in the red suit in that.
All right.
And we saw we're enjoying the current run. We definitely are. We saw there was a recent CBR interview with Mr. Soleil about what's coming up in the series, because we've been constantly asking, like,
is that how you pronounce it? I always thought it was Sewell.
Since you actually
we're gonna trust you.
Yeah, we're gonna go with you.
Charles Soule.
It looked like it was Soule.
We held an interview with Charles Soule.
Twirling the villain mustache from the classic movie while the woman is tied to the train tracks. That's how we roll here. He did an interview with CBR and said that, like, a lot of the quote unquote answers are going to be coming soon. And that's like a lot of things that we've been asking about, like, okay, how did Matt get the proverbial genie back into the bottle with his identity? And we're kind of nervous here. Me being a huge Spider-Man fan, I was like, if Mephisto shows up in this, it's going to hurt. But, obviously we know you can't give us spoilers. But kind of what's coming down the pike for our boy Matt.
I can't.
Sworn to secrecy.
What do you want me to say?
I took a swing at it. I figured,
Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
But no, dude, we know you can't tell us anything, but we're still enjoying the current run, and I really enjoyed.
I will say that I think Mr. Soule teases Mr. Soule likes to tease the reader. He teases you guys a bit.
Yeah.
As far as the Mephisto thing, but I'm not going to say more than that.
Oh man! All right.
It's nothing huge, but there's a
wink,
something that I think is a little reminiscent of that in there. So I won't say anymore.
Okay. Well, keep in mind that this whole run did start after a whole Marvel Universe collapse and rebuilding. So I guess all bets are off.
Sure.
I actually have a question about your work with Jason Aaron. So it seems like you guys have worked together quite a bit in the last little while. And, I guess
a couple of years now, but yeah.
He's one of my favorite writers. I'm wondering what's it like to work with him, and is there a particular reason why you enjoy working with him?
What's it like working with him? Well, honestly, Jason is a very, 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 very soft-spoken guy. He doesn't talk much. He's a good guy. Just, he's just very soft-spoken, and but sometimes there's just, certain people have a certain way of clicking, and the first thing we ever did together was a series called Get Mystique with Wolverine chasing Mystique, and it was jumping back and forth between now and a period piece and set in the 20s, and I loved it so much because I love drawing period things, because there's nothing more fun for me than to be able to reference the cars at the time, or the outfits, the flapper outfits, or the the suits guys wore, because it really adds a serious legitimacy to the visuals and for the escapism. Sometimes it's much harder to do current stories for that reason, as far as the costuming and even the acting and the scene, the sets and things like that. People don't realize the artist is responsible for all those things, just like in a movie. But sometimes it's more fun to do those period pieces because they have such identifiable characteristics of, the 20s and the 50s and or the 60s. They all have this look to them.
I guess
that's fun to draw. Or to draw something right now would be kind of like, I'd have to look for it because everything is sort of in hindsight. You know what I mean?
Sure. Like you get to play with iconography, basically.
Yeah. So anyway, Jason. And it was also, there was a lot of spaghetti Western elements in it, in that run.
I remember that run. It was
Clint Eastwood movies. I'm a big Clint Eastwood fan. So, hi, my wife just came in.
Hi, Mrs. Garney.
She just said hi. Oh, she came in naked. Oh, sorry.
Family show, man.
Scandalous.
Yes.
No, I remember that.
The Garney residence.
I remember that Wolverine one. It was a really interesting run because they had their own little gang of it was like a little street crime gang.
Right.
It's a
yeah.
And they were mutants, weren't they? They were also mutants as well.
And Mystique was sort of their leader, kind of thing, and they went to rob a bank and everything. And but it was, I loved doing it, And when I read the story, it was something so fresh and different that I had not worked on before. And so, knowing Jason was a fan of the spaghetti Western kind of thing, and because I was, it just clicked, and then we just kept doing stuff after that. And I think it was received so well, I think Marvel wanted to keep putting us together.
Oh. And then, so who approached who, I guess, with the Men of Wrath idea?
Jason approached me with it.
Cool. That was a fun idea. It was a fun series.
Yeah, we optioned it. I don't know if I can say that yet, but we optioned it, and it's being made. The first television pilot has been written, and it's a slow process, but
that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. I actually.
Robert De Niro made us an offer on it, actually.
Wow!
For a movie, but they're his people, his agents and stuff, kind of lowballed the offer, and we were talking with this other guy. I forgot his name off the top of my head, but he did the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the European version, and he made us an offer and thought it would be a great television show, and. But that didn't work out for a variety of reasons. Then we got another offer to do it as a television show. So we finally signed the deal last year, and it's being, it's slow going, but it's in the process of being made now. Speaking of that, the musician thing, Drew. I went and recorded a song in the studio that I'm hoping to get put on the show. So
that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Does it have a home yet, or is it still in the works? The show.
It's still in the works. It's still in the works. We're getting a director and some actors. That's the next step because we have the first pilot written, and then it's a matter of we're thinking maybe HBO or FX or maybe even that.
Super cool.
That would that book on
I know
HBO.
that Southern Bastards got on FX, so
I didn't know that.
Wow, didn't know that.
I think so. Yeah,
That's awesome too. I'm a big fan of that book as well.
Mr. Garney being generous with exclusives here on the Devil's Due.
Am I? I didn't realize. No, the Southern Bastards thing was announced last year.
Oh,
you read Southern Bastards?
I sure do. I love it. Great book.
It's a funny story. I actually just gave the Men of Wrath trade to my mother's husband for Christmas.
It's a little raw, depending on who you give it to.
Sure.
Well, yeah, because he's kind of that type of dude, and he was. My wife and I just had our firstborn. He's coming up on his 1 year birthday.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. And
my advice to you is stop while you're ahead.
Oh, we're one and done. We're so one and done.
I've got 4 kids, and
yeah, we were one and done before the delivery, and she had a pretty rough delivery, and we're just like we're so one and done after this. But when we had brought him home,
yes.
my mother and wife were kind of puttering around with him and doing different stuff, and my mother's husband happened to pick up a trade of the Punisher Max series that I had. And he started flipping through that. He's like, hey, this is kind of good. I'm like, you take it home and read it if you want. And he read it, and he's like, I think I would like stuff along this line.
Who was drawing that? Was that...
there was a few. There was Leandro Fernandez did a bunch. Garam Parlov.
It was the first,
saying that right?
The first arc.
Luis LaRosa.
There's a lot... there's a lot of guys doing it now that I don't know. I'm not familiar with because I don't really even get to read a lot of this stuff anymore, and there's so much new talent always coming in, so you have to forgive me if I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's fine. But yeah, he read it.
Against them, if they're happy to never listen.
He read it in a sitting and he loved it, so I'm sure he'll be thrilled to know there's a television series hopefully coming soon.
He read Men of Wrath?
Yeah,
Punisher Max.
He took home Punisher Max and he enjoyed that, and then for Christmas I gave him Men of Wrath and he crushed it in one sitting and he loved it.
Oh, good. Glad he liked it.
I have I guess if you don't mind getting into some nitty gritty, like why and like how did you guys decide to have Marvel publish that versus say like Image or another publisher that's more known for creative work or creator owned work?
Well, we bandied it around a little bit, but we were both with Marvel. Both doing things. I was under contract with Marvel, and it just seemed to make the most sense for an expediency, and and it was a good contract, So, but we toyed with the idea of bringing it elsewhere, but just seemed to make sense just to keep it right there. So
cool. Well, Marvel was willing to do it, so great.
Yeah, and I know they hadn't done anything for a bit with the Icon stuff. So,
will there be a follow up to Men of Wrath or?
Yeah, we talked about it. I don't know when, but we have an idea.
Okay.
For what the next one will be.
Very good.
So
just don't know when.
I'm kind of curious because obviously you've had some time in the business and you've done a lot of work. A lot.
30 years, almost 30 years of it.
What we find we discuss a lot on the show through like news items or what gets announced and whatnot is kind of like the current state of mainstream comics between like Marvel and DC. And like we're both. I'm 39. Drew is
younger,
but we both come from that 80s 90s era more or less. So there's a lot of things that that we see as possible opportunities for Marvel and or DC, and that they never really kind of jump on. What is your, from someone who's kind of like inside and you see how the sausage is made, what is your kind of take on the state of modern?
Well, let's back up a second. What opportunities do you think they missed?
We think a lot of times that they miss out on to maintain some continuity. A lot of we kind of notice that Marvel tends to be a little relaunch happy.
Yeah.
Lot of number ones.
Well, that's funny because I've done so many number ones it makes my head spin sometimes. Let's see, I did Hulk number 1, Cap number 1, X-Force number 1, Daredevil number 1, Night Stalkers number 1. I'm sure there's another number 1 in there somewhere. But yeah, I've done a lot of those.
I mean, granted, we'll be the first ones to admit that a lot of our points are kind of age perspective. Dang, kids, get off our lawn, what have you. But again, you being kind of on the inside, we're just kind of curious to what your perspective on.
Well, you'd be surprised how little I'm actually on the inside. I mean, I work at home and I have a whole life aside from Marvel. And honestly, it's not like the old days like you're talking about. And, back in the 90s, the artists were included a lot more in the upcoming year, the development of the upcoming year's projects and things like that. And now it's mostly just the writers and editors, and they just keep the artists, sort of home working, and it's, I kind of miss those old days. We used to get invited to the retreats and stuff, and we don't get invited to those anymore. Which, I believe me, I'm kind of in the same shoes you guys are in. Or some of the, in some ways it's better, it's a lot more organized at Marvel in some ways than it was in the early 90s, but a little more professional. But there's certain other things that I think I kind of miss. But as far as what's coming up in the books and where they're handling the books, I have my own opinions, about certain things, especially in everything is political nowadays. And
don't say anything that's going to get you into trouble or anything.
Yeah, no, I'm not mentioning names or anything or anything like that, but I just feel like some of the what's the word I'm looking for? Some of just the adventure and the fantasy of it's gotten lost in everybody making political statements, which kind of annoys me. But I that side of it I stay out of. When I did Daredevil, I basically told them I would do Daredevil, but I didn't want it to become a book that was about making political statements because I have no interest in that because it's too charged and there's too many differing opinions and everybody's trying to push their particular agenda through, and I don't believe in that. And this is escapism for me, and if I'm going to work in it, I want it to remain that. So that's it.
Yeah, like if you were doing Cap, it would be more expected to make a political statement.
Well, sometimes, obviously it doesn't matter. Obviously there was always statements being made throughout in comic books. It's not like I'm, it was like it was ever a time where there wasn't statements being made, but now it's just, that's all it seems to be in a lot of cases. And I have no problem with it being to a certain degree, but when it just becomes, so blatant, and I'm like, I kind of just, don't pay attention to it. So that's just my personal feeling on it,
How long do you plan on staying on Daredevil?
I don't know.
All right.
No idea. You guys got awful quiet when I talked about the Marvel thing. What do you guys think?
I feel like I'm not as engaged with the product as I was even
Why do you
3
think
to 5 years ago, maybe. And I think honestly some of it might be some of the political stuff you're talking about. It does feel a little, I don't know, driven for headlines more than it should, I guess. But more than that, though, I think
don't you guys sort of miss it when it was a little more simpler times? I guess.
I'm a big fan of just really good creators giving really good content, and I guess a lot of my favorite creators have kind of
right. And I guess it doesn't
on.
matter as long as it's good, as the story's good. I think, to be honest, I think Civil War, that was probably a huge political statement, but I really liked it. I thought it was
the first one or the second one.
The first one. The one I worked on with Spider-Man. I mean, I enjoyed some of that. So, well, you guys didn't like it?
No, I loved Civil War. I think it was the right book for the right time, considering it was still like the wounds of 9/11 were still relatively fresh, and we were, as a country, we were transforming from what we were to kind of what we are now.
Well, it's interesting, because the whole thrust of Civil War, these two very divided groups of heroes, based on their points of view, or how the country should run. And isn't it funny how art imitated life? Look how divided everything is now. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime.
Yeah,
it's interesting how it was prophetic, but maybe it wasn't so prophetic as it was just going down this road after 9/11 anyway.
Yeah. I think one thing, at least for me personally, that kind of goes along the line with what Drew was talking about is also like so many big events, and they're just not, at least in my opinion, they're not necessary. Like we just finished Civil War II, which was less than a year removed from Secret Wars.
Right, and it's no longer an event if it's
it's every year. So,
yeah,
and it feels like a big reset button almost all the time, and I don't know. I'm not quite as impressed with the lineup as I was. So
yeah, now the characters. It used to be like back in the days where you had like Secret War, and there was how many years between Secret War and like Infinity Gauntlet. The characters had a chance to grow into themselves and develop their own world within the Marvel universe. Now it just feels a lot of times like it's okay. Here's the event. Half the year is divided up into recovering from the past event, and then the next half of the year is leading up to the next big event.
Right. Yeah.
So the characters don't get as much a chance to grow anymore, which is why I think I'm really enjoying your Daredevil run, because
he's
Daredevil,
kind of isolated.
Yeah, a lot of times he seems very removed from a lot of what's going on in the Marvel universe.
Well, that's kind of why, it kind of points back to what I was saying when I had mentioned to them I didn't want to be involved in all that other stuff. I just wanted to do a character, and that's honestly, that's what I'm enjoying about it. He's kind of got his own thing going. I think the last arc we did with this, it's about developing new material. We came up with this character called Muse, and Charles really had, I think it was a brilliant story. As far as it was like, for me, it was like the closest thing I'll get to directing a movie like Seven,
Good.
And so that's to me is what the fun is. It's like, creating these new things we've not seen before and not trying to shoehorn it into, some whole other thing, I think that let the story make its own point. Don't be God pulling the strings on all the characters. You have to let the characters sort of develop and create new ones, and there has to be something organic about the narrative. And I feel like it's kind of gotten lost in a lot of ways, but hey, somebody listening to this might be like, oh, that Garney's so full of shit. Who does he think he is? But it's just my opinion. So
no, we agree. I mean, I'm the same of the same mind. I like books that live and breathe and can kind of be on their own, and if they cross over into other stuff sometimes, cool, but I like it better when they're just kind of on their own, telling their stories.
Yeah, so much, and it's I get that, you run out of things to say. These writers like Peter David was on the Hulk for 12 years, and then I came on it right after him, and Byrne came on it. It's such a complete departure, so it's tough to keep that character. How do I put this? It's just it changes the character so much that it's it no longer becomes a breathing thing. It just becomes you killed one off, and it might as well be another one, another guy with the same name. But it's tough because you run into a lot of the stories have been told, over and over, and they get rehashed, and it's because of the volume of comic books, it's tough to come up with new material.
Well, I'll say that as a longtime reader of Daredevil, you guys are doing a good job of keeping it fresh and fresh but familiar, for the character that we know.
Sure, yeah.
So,
artistically speaking, I mean, I felt like I wanted to approach it as if the reader was sort of looking at it through Daredevil's eyes visually, like the world around the reader is like what Daredevil sort of kind of sees, so I chose that, I really pushed that black and white, but especially with the color, Matt Milla, who I've been working with, I've worked with him as far back as Spider-Man, and worked with him real closely on this, and I was sending him all kinds of noir photos with splashes of reds and splashes of different colors, to create something really different. And he did a great job, and we worked real closely, and we, very happy with the result. And people seem to really respond to it, because it's something that people hadn't really seen before, something different. So it didn't look like anything else so much. And I had to fight to do that. I had to fight with Marvel a little bit to get that.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted to do more of the traditional, superhero Avenger coloring.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't want to do that.
That's the coloring that you guys are doing is what
it's distinct.
Yeah, it makes it. That's another thing that we talk about a lot. Is like a lot of times you can't tell. And this problem I think is more with DC than it has been with Marvel. But like for a long time, especially during the New 52 run, it was like a DC house style that you couldn't determine the artist of one book from another book. And that's what's great about your current Daredevil run is that it looks different.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely deliberate. I just wanted to do something, and I've always been sort of like that. I always try to go against the grain a little bit, just for my own sake, because I don't want to get bored or shoehorned into a house look myself. I always, whatever character I'm on, I try to bring something different to it. But with the coloring, it really was effective with the black and white. It took a lot of work to get to it, though. There was a lot of, if I could show you guys my folder from the very first issue, there's so many recolors and corrections. I was working with Matt on and trying to come up with something that was really different and really worked. And so we really, I think, came up with something that felt, like you said, like familiar and yet fresh at the same time. So I'm happy with the way it's gone.
So another thing I'm curious about is one thing I enjoy that you're doing is that you're not dipping into the well as far as villains go. You're creating your own villains, and they've been pretty entertaining up to this point, like Ten Fingers, and you mentioned Muse, and Ten Fingers is just a great visual.
When I first read that, or first spoke to Charles about that, I was like, what? 10 fingers. And then he wanted me to draw a gun with 10 triggers on it. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to So I just chose this pistol and put all these triggers on it. It's funny at the same time, but it's kind of cool, it's different.
So then was killing him off in the Muse storyline just a way of ensuring you didn't have to draw that ever again?
Well, he definitely doesn't have 10 fingers anymore.
That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that was the reason, but not from my end. The drawing the hands, the 10 fingers on each hand was really a task, to be honest.
Well, yeah, to count.
It's really hard not to make it look completely stupid.
Yeah,
or goofy looking. He's got all these fingers and he sewed them on from all these other people, and But it ended up working out okay. But I think he was more the appetizer, and then the main course became Muse because it was such a twisted, demented character that made Ten Fingers look really completely mild, So
yeah, Muse was pretty wild, man. And in
Blind Spot, it finally, I think what it did for Blind Spot too. Blind Spot, people were like, well, what is this character even going to be? What's the point of it? Then we got to see how, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say martyr, but how he became a real legit. You really cared about him when you see what happens to him in the Muse arc,
Right.
It's like, you're kind of wondering, that's why we focused on, there's one issue where Muse was chasing Blind Spot all over these tunnels and, vice versa. And that was to make you care a little bit more about Blind Spot for the finale where you see what happens to him. And it really legitimized Blind Spot as a hero, I think, in his own right. And made him really interesting, made you really care about it. So I think as far as creating a new character and solidifying his place in the Marvel Universe, I think we really accomplished that. And Charles especially, really well with that arc. So,
well, you've added another deep addition to Daredevil's already deep rogues gallery. So, well done.
Yeah, we hope to definitely see more of Muse in the future.
I love drawing his face.
Oh, it's such a great visual. It works because it just kind of sends a chill down your spine when you see him, and that's the intended effect.
When I was on Twitter, I put that picture up, the black and white of him on Christmas Day. I was like, "Merry Christmas, everyone!"
Nice and cheer.
Charles wrote, "Jesus, Ron." Because it's so sick, the look on his face, Like Santa Claus. It's, if there was, what was that Santa Claus movie that was the evil Santa Claus that came out a few years ago?
Krampus?
Krampus, that's it. You could see that being one of the elves or something.
That'd be great. One thing we were talking about was kind of Matt's mindset on taking on a sidekick, because he's not traditionally one that works with a sidekick. And one thing that Matt is defined by in a lot of ways is the loss that he's experienced throughout his life, and not just his father, but his numerous other characters that have lost their lives as a result of Matt's choice to be Daredevil. So my take on it was that, like, this was kind of Matt's way of atoning for some of that loss that he feels responsible for. Drew's take was kind of, he just doesn't want the kid to get killed.
Well, what loss are you talking about with Matt?
His father, Elektra,
etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I mean,
probably a little bit of both. I definitely think he doesn't want the kid to get killed, but I also think it is atonement, and it is a way of, if he can keep this kid alive, it sort of redeems him, from those failures, I guess. Unfortunately, he fails again.
This is Matt we're talking about. So.
Well,
it's part,
but it's a
what he does.
Again, because Muse didn't really know Daredevil was blind.
Yeah.
So for him to choose that as his artistic, moment, as an artist to do what he did to Blind Spot was really, I thought, a stroke of genius, and it sort of tied the whole thing up in some sick, gruesome little package, and it puts Daredevil right back. It brings it, it really, in that moment, stripped away the whole San Francisco bit. You know what I mean? Because then it brought it all back again, like this, what Matt Murdock really was, and we're all defined by the things that happen to us. And if you take Matt out of that, then you're not the same, because no matter what, I'm who I am, and I have my experiences in my life, and you guys have yours. And no matter what geographical changes or things you go through, you go through changes, but you're always going to have this angst or these things that define you as individuals and myself as an individual. And so to take that away from Matt so much that, that he's almost unrecognizable in his own book. I mean, I'm not saying he was unrecognizable, but you know what I mean. to bring him back full circle to that core thing that makes that character what he is, I thought was brilliant. So
it seems like, I'm not sure how much of this you can talk about. It seems like Daredevil's about to get a real big push because they're starting a whole line of books kind of spinning out from Daredevil. Kingpin, Bullseye, and Elektra all getting their own books. One can look at this and see that it's just to kind of build on the popularity that's been gained from the Netflix series.
Those are all the characters I didn't draw. And what does that tell you?
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear.
No, it's funny because it's like, it's interesting because, it's funny that those characters are being spun off into their own series again, and those are the ones I didn't actually draw, but I did get to draw the new characters, the more defining arcs as far as, the flavor and the tone of the book. But I definitely, it's funny because I kind of wanted to draw Bullseye, but I didn't get to.
Well, you said you don't know when you're going to be done yet, so maybe down the road.
I mean, I'm finishing up. I have one more issue on this arc I'm working on, and then I ended up having to put a fill-in in because of the schedule. And that wasn't my fault. It just is the way the schedule is working out. So, so then after that, there's one more arc I may do, and we'll see where it goes from there. We'll see I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen yet. So,
all right. And are you working on any other books, or just strictly Daredevil right now?
Just Daredevil. Believe me, it's plenty.
Okay.
To draw a book every month and pencil and ink it is a lot. So. And having 4 kids and a family, I had to give up my jiu-jitsu school because of it, because I was just killing my career for a while there because I couldn't do both. So,
hey, raising 4 kids gets you a black belt in anything. I'm have one kid and I'm just like, I don't know how people with more than one do this.
I'm a black belt and no sleep.
So, is there whenever that may be, is there a character that you're kind of itching to get your penciling on with once Daredevil comes to an end? Is there a character you've always wanted to take a crack at?
I wanted to do Daredevil for sure. There's nothing, to be perfectly frank, there's nothing that jumps out at me right now. And there usually is something that jumps out at me. Like when I was offered Ultimate Cap, I wanted to do that, That sounded like fun. Cap, who's kind of a real bastard, was kind of fun to draw. All the books I've done, I've wanted to do, but as of late, I've been feeling more and more that while I'm grateful, I'm getting a little tired of drawing other people's stories. Because there's the difference is that for me anyway, that as you're drawing, there's always things you're going to have fun drawing, but it's always someone else's sort of take, and I can put as much of myself in there in the art and everything else, but I kind of want to write and draw my own thing, so whatever I draw is what I want to draw. It's not something that somebody else has, needs somebody else to draw. So I'm kind of leaning towards maybe doing something on my own again. I don't know. We'll see.
Cool.
So we definitely look forward to that because we both love Men of Wrath. So
yeah, and
I don't know. It could be a complete departure from any of that, though. I have some ideas. I have a whole, galaxy thing, that of characters that I've come up with that I might want to do, that are more Guardians of the Galaxy flavored that I did years ago that I never got around. Sketchbook characters that I came up with and things, and I would love to put them all in a universe of their own and make a story out of them, so we'll see.
Cool.
Awesome.
And it'll sell 1 copy.
No, I think you're living in peak creator-owned time right now, so I think you'll sell more than 1 copy.
I hope so.
Well, sir, we can't thank you enough for being extremely generous with your time and given this little podcast a chance to speak to someone who's putting spokes in the wheels of a character that we really love and enjoy, and we thank you for your work, and we really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you.
Well, guys, it was a pleasure. Thanks for asking me. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And good luck with this. This is your maiden.
No, this is 20.
This might be our
something.
30th episode.
Oh, really?
We started. No, we started going through the first season of the Daredevil Netflix show, and now we're just about to conclude. We do an one episode breakdown per episode of our show, just analyzing it, discussing it, and then we're just about to finish up the first season of Luke Cage before we jump right back into Daredevil season 2, and then of course we got Iron Fist and Defenders coming later this year.
Excellent. Did you see in the last arc, the Muse arc, the cop is the boyfriend of the girl who plays Karen Page on the Daredevil series?
No.
Who's the girl from True Blood?
Deborah Ann Wall.
Right. She's on. Does she play? What's the character she plays again?
She plays on True Blood or on Daredevil?
No, on Daredevil. Is it Karen?
Yeah, she plays Karen.
Right. She plays Karen. Well, her boyfriend is in our Muse issue as a cop. I drew him in as a cop, and he contacted me. So I'm excited. Yeah, and I have to give him a page at some point with his face on it. But yeah, it was pretty neat, because it's his girlfriend.
I'm gonna have to go back and check that out now. Cool. All right, sir. Thank you again. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Ron Garney.
Nailed it. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Wow. That was a lot of fun. He was very generous with.
It's a very great discussion, and I'm really grateful that he gave us the time. And hopefully we can speak again after some of the aforementioned new stuff comes to light.
Yes. And perhaps, maybe if he enjoys how he came off on the show, he can put us in contact with Mr. Soule, or apparently his name is pronounced Soul. Sorry. Was I the only one who thought it was pronounced
I thought it was Soule too, man.
Okay. As long as I'm not the only one, that's the most important part.
No, I too was fooled.
So, folks, we really appreciate you joining us again here on The Devil's Due. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. We appreciate the listen. We hope that we gave you a show that you're interested in continuing to follow the antics of. If you would like to, you can follow us on Twitter at Devil's Due Pod. You can find us at facebook.com/Devil's Due Pod. You can go email us at thedevilsdupod@gmail.com. Or you can find all these resources on our website, thedevilsdupodcast.com. Our show is available on iTunes and Google Play.
Yeah, please subscribe and don't forget to leave a rating. It does help us out. And share, if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends.
Yes. Shares on multimedia or social media. All right, God, I'm so old. Or could it be that I'm sick?
Multimedia?
Maybe it's that I'm sick.
Can they put it on the information superhighway?
Maybe it's that I'm sick.
Maybe. I don't know.
Although, can't deny my voice. Sexy when I'm sick.
You got some baritone going on right now. Well, in my my non-professional medical opinion, have a drink. It might help you out.
That's what kind of got me in this. Aside from you making me sick, that's what kind of flamed the. We had this discussion earlier in the show. Don't drink when you're sick.
Hey, man. What do I know?
Yeah. What do you know? You know, getting your friend sick. Although, I know we're a Daredevil show, but since I have the voice, I can't help myself. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I had the voice. I had to try it out.
Do you feel better now?
A little bit.
Okay. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
All right. Folks, thank you for joining us. Court is adjourned.